Just because you were related to Ellen White, it did not give you an inside track to heaven. It certainly did not mean you were perfect. Tragically, Ellen White, who was a twin, she and her twin sister Lizzie, or Elizabeth, but her nickname was Lizzie, they were the youngest of 8 children. Lizzie, as far as we can tell, had no interest in religion at all. So there's not some inside track to perfection or heaven. This, I should add about Lizzie, this troubled Ellen White no end, that her sister had no interest in religion. Well, just one illustration of a white family member, just so you can realize they're real people, and they were not always perfect. In the late 1860s, James White had some strokes, several strokes. And Ellen White, concerned about her husband's health, wanted to get him out of Battle Creek, Michigan, where all the pressure was, because that's where our institutions all were in those days. And so she took him up to Greenville, Michigan. And there for a couple of years, they had a house, they lived, they did farming, and just different kind of pressure. I mean, you still have to worry about crops, et cetera, but it's different than dealing with people and deadlines of publications and all that kind of thing. Well, while they were up there was no Adventist church school, so they enrolled their son, Willie White, in a public school. And for whatever reason, he did not like his teacher. So one night, according to his son, who told me this story, Elder Arthur White, many years later told this story on his father. One night, Willie and a classmate got into the schoolroom, came in through a window, got into the schoolroom after hours. And Willie wrote a poem on the blackboard. And here's what the poem said. The devil flew east and west, north and south, and caught up Miss Jones in his mouth. But when he saw he had a fool, he dropped her here to teach our school. Now that may not be the way you picture the White family, but that's what Arthur White said his father wrote. Well, after writing this poem on the blackboard, the 2 kids get out of the school. The next morning when this teacher arrives, she is a bit better teacher than Willie gave her credit for, because she recognized his handwriting. So she knew who wrote it because she could recognize his handwriting. But there it was, she left it up there on the blackboard. So when the students came in, here was the poem. She, after they all got seated, she asked, would the young man or the young woman who wrote this please identify himself or herself? Now, many, many things have changed in the last 150 years, but some things have not. And this is one that has not. Total silence. Nobody fessed up. Nobody admitted to anything. So, since she recognized the handwriting, she went over to Willie's desk and she said, Willie White, I recognize your handwriting. I know you wrote this. I want you to take it back. In other words, I want you to apologize for what you've said about me. Well, here's what Arthur White told me his father's response was. I can't take it back. Now that's bad enough. He probably should have stopped right there, but he didn't. He said, I can't take it back because my parents have taught me always to tell the truth. I said to Elder White, what happened to your father after that? He said, you know, that part of the story has never come down. I don't know. But he said, I know a little bit about Grandpa White. That would be James White. He said, I know a little bit about Grandpa White's reputation. And my guess is that they had a session out by the woodpile. Today we would say he got a whipping. It's just another reminder. They were all real people. And Willie was no exception. James and Ellen were no exception. They obviously, even though the story may not have included this part, they obviously also had a session with a teacher to talk about their young son. So yeah, they were real people.